Okay, so welcome once again. Today we are going to resume our class on if statement from where we stopped. Now we are going to see how we can build a loan app just the same way we have built our um, body max index app. From what we have here, we saw that we were able to build a body mass index that would tell if the person is a gender, the BMI category for those underweight, for those living a healthy lifestyle, for those who are overweight, and for those who um, needs to see a doctor as a result of being obese. Okay, so now in the same vein or in the same way, just like the way that we've built our BMI index app, let's see how we can build a loan app. Now, we want to consider two locations. We want to consider two locations. Let it be for those either in Abuja or Lagos, Nigeria. That is one. And then, of course, we'll get the customer information, which is a customer name, then at least the monthly pay. Then what else again? Year in job or year of employment, as the case may be. So we are considering those between Abuja and Lagos, and then we can try and give them a range. If you have a monthly pay between a particular range, you should be able to get the loan or get a certain amount of loan. But if a pay up to that traditional banking system, how much your savings account or current account, as the case may be, the activity on it determines how much loan that the bank can give you at every point in time. All right. So now let's do that. Let's proceed. Loan app. Okay. Information or the customer's information that we need for our loan app. Right. So one of the first things that we are going to, so here we are defining it as, let them impute their name. Okay. Their name. So we can say name. Right. So monthly pay. Now our monthly pay will be, but it will be in float because what is it called? Evaluations. You could have someone earning maybe 2,000 naira and 35 kobo. So it will be in float just in case. Float, that's the first thing that we're going to do. And after float, we are saying that they should input what their monthly pay or their monthly earnings. So input, enter your monthly, right? Now the next thing that we're going to do is, how do we say this year in job? Okay, we can call it years of employment. Years, or I want to see how we can employment. Okay, let us call it years in job. All right, integer. So we don't want anyone imputing alphabet for us. We don't want anyone imputing string, like maybe 25 years. Let it just impute integer alone. Don't come and be typing 25 years for us. That 25 years, just write it as an integer. So in this case now, once they impute anything that is not 25 years in integer, our system will not recognize it. All right. So now integer, and then impute your years in employment. years in employment. Okay. Or we can say how sound better. How many years? How many years? All right. Now, the next thing, remember we said we are building a loan app for just those between Abuja and Lagos. That's the location. All right. So we can say a loan app for customers based in Abuja or Lagos, based at or in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. Okay. Now we've tackled that. The next thing that I want to do is the location. Now, I was saying location is equal to input, enter your location to gather this little information about our customer. As we proceed, we would see if we need some other information that we need to add to the ones that we already have. Okay. Now, let's proceed. So we want to start building the app. And like we said we're going to use if statement. We can even impute gender here. Let them tell us their gender. Okay. So gender, customer, then gender. Gender, yep, is equals to impute. Sorry. We can say enter, or what is your gender? Your gender. Now, we can, for someone who doesn't want to write, what is it called? Female in full, they can just write M. That's F for female, M for male. So we can format it that way also. Just like if you remember when we did, when we were formatting our, what is it called? Our measuring units. Okay. So it's either impute G for grams or grams as in a whole or kg or kilograms as in a whole. So we can always do that here. What is your gender? Or maybe we can do it the way we did this gender, the one we built for the gender when we asked their gender, if their gender was male or female. Are you a male or female? So either ways, we can always do it. So now, what is your gender? We can say male. Okay. What is your gender? Male or female? So they can always impute either they are male, or you can say M for male, M for male, and F for. Now, what else do we want? We've collected the customer name, the gender, the monthly pay, years in job. We can go ahead and collect age and all whatnot, BVN, and all those information. That is just how this works. All right. But let's just, since this is synthetic, it's just the same way. Whether you are building it with a what is it called? A synthetic data or information, or a real data or information. So now we're now saying if location now, right? Dot, remember we always use dot lower, so that in case the person types in uppercase, our system will not flag it. It will just return everything to lowercase for us, no matter how the person imputes it. Either the person fusing the information with dot capitalized or in capitalized way. So now, we said if location now dot lower is equal to Lagos. Okay. Or now in the morning we used and said double equal sign in each statement is now comparison. So when we were comparing the SI units, we were using and. If height, unit height is this, and unit weight is this. Return height by this and return weight by this. Now, in this case now, it's the same thing, but we're not using or. So or is saying if location equal to Lagos or Abuja. What and or does is that and would whenever it sees the condition, either one or both of the conditions are met, it will go ahead and proceed. While or is whenever one of the conditions are met. So for and, one or more than those conditions will be met, while in or, one of those conditions must be met. So I don't know if you understand. So now we are saying if location is equal to Lagos, or location dot low again dot lower equal to Abuja. Right? Now what happens? Enter. If their monthly pay now, we have been able to state location. It's either Lagos or Abuja. It should not be more than these two. So we just want the location to be either Lagos or Abuja. Now, we are now saying we are giving them for those. Let it be for those within a particular salary scale. If now monthly pay now. So which monthly pay are we using? Okay, let's consider the economy. If monthly pay is greater than 750,000, and now you can see if the monthly pay is greater than 750,000, and then the year in job now, the year in job is greater than 5 years, and year in job is greater than 5. Okay, that's the loan amount now that we want to give them. Loan amount that I want to give them would be equal to monthly pay. Monthly pay. Now let's quickly do something now. For those who are above 5 years, what we want to give them is their monthly pay, multiply it by 6, and add the what is it called, 7% of their monthly pay. This is what I mean. Their monthly pay will now be, loan amount will be equal to, there should be a bracket here, a parenthesis rather, will be equal to monthly pay multiplied by 6. Okay, now add 70%. That is 70 over 100. So that would be 0.7 of their monthly pay, which is monthly pay. Okay. Now let me know if you understand what we did. Let's proceed. Now we now said after we've identified the loan amount that we can give them. So print. Now we are formatting. Print what? Dear, right? Dear customer, comma, you are eligible for, now the person is eligible for this loan amount. So what are we formatting now? The loan amount. Maybe we can just put $sign here and then use concatenation now, and we're bringing in loan loan amount. So, dear customer, you're eligible for what is it called? So we can add loan here, full stop. Right? Now, let's proceed. We have been able to build for those who earns from 750 and above, $750,000 and above, and then they have been in service for more than 5 years. All right. Now let's proceed. Elif, Elif, for those between 250,000. Okay, we can do 500,000 and 750. So for those between 500,000 less or equal to monthly pay. Okay, so we've done above 750. So now we want to do between 500,000 to 750. So now it is less than or equal to 500,000 or less than or equal to 750, right? 750,000. And years in job now is less than or equal to 5 years. Remember, those who have been longer in service, we want to give them more. All right. So now, for these people, their years in job or is less than or equal to 5. How much are we giving them? We are now saying that their loan amount will be equal to loan amount is equal to, now their monthly pay multiplied by, you can say multiply by 5. Yes, multiply by 5. Sorry, monthly pay here multiply by 5. Okay, plus, are we giving the same percentage? Should we give the same percentage? Let's give them everybody the same percentage. Let's give them everybody runs on the same percentage, but their monthly pay multiplications will keep dropping. So we now have 0.7 multiply by monthly pay. Okay, so it should now help us and print formatting here. Now concatenating customer, comma, you are eligible for, this is, and sorry, let me quickly change this instead of dollar. You are eligible, sorry. All right, loan, full stop. We proceed again. Elif, for those between 250,000 and 500,000. Elif, sorry, Elif, so 250,000 less or equal to monthly pay now, right? Less than or equal to 500,000. Yeah, 500,000. And years in job now, 500,000 and 750,000 are for those who have worked between 5 years and more than 5 years. Now let's do between 5, that's greater than those who have worked for 3 years or more. Okay, so is greater or equal to 3. Their own loan amount now will be equal to monthly pay multiply by 4 plus 0.7. The same, everybody received the same percent. Okay, no, let those who are earning higher receive 0.7, and then those who are earning lower receive 0.5. 0.5 times content formatting. Here we're bringing in customer. Dear customer, comma, this is you are eligible for, okay, elif 750, those between 500 and 750, those between 50, elif 100, one more, less than or equal to 250, and they have worked for also 3 years or more, greater or equal to 3. So their own loan amount now will be equal to monthly pay multiply by pay plus multiply for the percentage now. 100. Okay, let's finish. Here, customer. Okay. Here, cost you are eligible for this loan amount. Loan. Full stop. So one more thing that we are going to do, we don't want is who can't pay and 250,000, not who have not been captured here, will not be eligible for our loan. Okay, each of them we can give 0.7, that's 70%. Those we can give them 6%. Those between 250, between 100 and 250, we can give them 4%. But they are so this is 0. We're giving this guy 0.4, right? Now those who are less than 100,000, we tell them that okay, you are not eligible. Else, print customer monthly pay now. Yeah, monthly pay now. Sorry, your monthly pay. Now bringing in our monthly pay so that person must have imputed. All right, your monthly pay is this here, is imputed or have specified. Then let's have a line break. Okay, you are not eligible. Loan, full stop, is the monthly pay the person has for the loan. How do we end our code in this case? All right, see how this works. For this if side here that I've highlighted, we now want to select Abuja or Lagos using when the person does not select. There are two things that will make you not qualify for the loan that have been specified. That is one, Abuja. So we've ended the below average, and then now we are neither in Lagos to else program for us. Print. Yeah, now calling in our comma. The location or the location specified is not a loan disbursement. services or employees, or we can just their customer, our loan services. Okay, loan services, disbursement services, our run, find the customer's name. The information that we are collecting is customer's name, so that we are going to, for average, make sure that we specify for 250, 500,000 or 600,000 as the case may be, and then specify 250 and specify 100 and then specify below 100. After which we will now specify for those who chose another location and see what our result is going to be. All right. So now let's run our program. Let me see if I can comment on some of the things that we've done, so that commenting on these things at every point in time, I would have said, yeah, and where are we here? So we have 1, 2, 3. One more. Okay. How I've commented on to keep inputting the information every time. Comment. Now let's run and then give it time. Just allow it. Allow it to run. So let's start inputting our information now. Let's use our Sunny. Now, what is your gender? We didn't give. Okay, let me just input we'll format it better so that we can have a column where they can input M and a space. Let's proceed. What is your monthly? Enter your monthly earnings. Now, we said 750,000. That's the first thing that we want to do. Okay, 750,000. Enter again. How many years have you been employed? We said 5 years. Now, location now is Abuja. Okay. So this is what we have. We have, dear Abai Sonny, you're eligible for a loan of $4,200,000. Okay. Now let's do for someone between 500,000 and 750,000. All right. So we've seen the first one, someone who have been employed for 5 years or more, and is in Abuja. Let's go back, run this again, but let me quickly format the gender, well, male or female here, and then let's run again. So we've been able to tackle this. Now we want to tackle the early 500,000 and 750,000, and then the person is either 5 years or less. So let's run again and see. So in this case now we're imputing 4 years, because we said 5 years or less, and you must earn between 500,000 and 750,000. Okay. Now we are using Felicity Chidima. So she's a female, that's F. Monthly earnings 500. So we are going with something like 625,000. Okay. Enter. Now, how many years have she? We are now saying 5. It must be equal to 5 years or less than 5 years. So let's use 4 years now. I would have said let's use 4.4 years and 5 months, but then we didn't our year we didn't include it as an integer, as a float. We can also impute floats there so that for someone who have worked for 4 years and 5 months, they would add that. Now, location now, she's in Lagos. Okay. So, dear Felicity Chidima, you're eligible for a 3,500,000. That's $3,500,000 loan or $3.5 million loan. Okay. Now let's go back again. We want we said yes integer. Okay, we just said integer that there should be no float. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. Now we've tackled those between 500,000 and 750,000, and then they have worked for less than 5 years. Now I want to tackle those between 250,000 and 500,000, and then they have worked for at least more than 3 years or more. Okay, so these 3 years or more now can be what is it called? 4 years also. More than or equal to 3 years. So let's see what we have. We impute 3 now, and then we use 250,000. Okay, so let's run again. Here we are using a generic name by Sunny, and then mail, all right, and earnings 250,000. How many years have you been employed? We are looking for those 3 years or more. So let's use 3 years, and then location is Abuja. All right. So, dear Abaisoni, you are eligible for $1,125,000 loan. Is that clear? Let's go back again. We want those between 100,000 and 250,000, and then they have worked for 3 years. Okay, now we are saying 3 years or more. This is more than 5 years, less or equal to 3 years. So this, let's change this thing, less than or equal to. So this one is less than 3 years or equal to 3 years, right? Now, for those who have worked for what is it called, 100,000, theirs is they must have worked for 2 years at least. So we can say less than or equal to 2 years. Let's change the values, less than or equal to, because this is more than 5 years, less than 5 years. Okay, less than or equal to 3 years. So someone who have worked for 4 years should be able to. This we give us someone who have worked for 4 years. Now, this other one now. Okay, 4 years have been covered here. Less than or equal to 3 years. So 3 years have been covered here. All right. Okay. So let's proceed. We are going with 100,000 and then 4 years now. 100,000. We've covered 5 years. We've covered 4 years. We've covered 3 years. Let's cover 100,000 for someone who have worked for 2 years. Less than or equal. It must be less than or equal to 2 years. All right. Now let's proceed. We run again, and then let's put a generic name, Felicity. Sorry. Okay. All right. Now, gender, female, monthly earnings, $125,000. How many years have you been employed? It should be less than or equal to 2 years. That's what we said. Equals to 3 years. That's what we said. So 2 years now. And then location is Lagos. So she is eligible for someone who have worked for 2 years. She is eligible and earns $125,000. She is eligible for $425,000. That's fine. Now let's do two more things now. For someone who whose monthly pay is less than this range now. The person must have, let's assume it's just a clerk who have worked for 5 years and then but earns less, okay, and is within any of these locations. Let's go ahead and run this. We say now male, okay, monthly earnings is $99,500. $99,500. All right. Enter. How many years have you been employed? 6 years even. Enter. Enter location, Abuja. Okay. Now, dear Abba Sonny, your monthly pay is this, comma. You are not, there's a mistake here. You are not 6 years. And like this person satisfy all the what is it called? Criteria except the amount he or she earns. And that is the only thing making him not to be eligible for the loan. Okay? So let's go back and see for someone who satisfies everything, but he is not in either of the location. Now, there is a mistake here. So let me correct that. Now, this we can even make this to be on the same line, removing this line break here. Let's see. Okay. Now we take this off. Yeah. So let it be on the same line. Okay. Let's proceed. Someone who satisfies everything, but is not, his or her location is not covered. That is now what we want to do now. Let's go ahead and run this. Felicity. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, Felicity. Chidima. Enter. Female. Now, earnings. She earns $1,100,000. Okay, 1 million. Yeah, this is $1,100,000. How many years? And she have worked for 7 years. Location now. We are going to use let's say she's in Port Harcourt location or Rivers State, or you can just say Port Harcourt. Okay. Now, dear Felicity Chidima, the location specified is not covered in our loan disbursement services. This person satisfies everything, even earns more, but just that the location that she has specified is not yet covered in the loan services, loan disbursement services. So, do you now understand how this thing works? Any questions? Okay, so let's proceed. Now, we are trying to know how we can build our while loop together with our if statement. We said that if statement is like the bedrock, and we've built the bedrock. What happens next after building the bedrock? There are situations where you would want to do something and then the bedrock won't just do it for you. Okay? So then you would have to use while. Just like in a situation where you want something that would count what is it called? Count number of times that, let's use statistics for example now. When we want to find out number of times that something will appear or a ball will appear, I think that's, is it min or mode? I can't even remember. So now, what if you want to do that kind of thing in Python, right? What will you do?
That's probability.
Oh, sorry, probability. Sorry, my bad. Probability in statistics tells you how many times something will occur. Okay. Now, what if you want to do the same thing? You want to do probability in Python. How do you go about it? It is while loop that you're going to use. Although we have our modules that we'll still treat, where we can bring in statistics, where we can import statistics, and then it just go ahead and do the job for us. But in this situation now, let's assume we have, let's name this while loop. Okay. Now, we said we can just name this, call this a variable as times equals to 1. Okay. Now, we want at every stage, now, the number of times is going to count. Let it just be 5 times for us. Let it be less than or equal to 5 times. Now, the knowledge of while loop is very important, because when you get to pandas and matplotlib, you are going to be using it. What are you going to be using it for? You are going to be using it to most especially when you are building your what is it called, your visuals for bar charts or bar charts or straight line graphs, that is linear equations or curves, y equals to 2x and the rest of them. It is the knowledge of while loop that you'll be using there. Okay, so now we said the times is equals to 1, but we want at every point in time that the time counts. Let it just count for us 5 times. Now let's write the code, and then you understand what I'm trying to say now. We said we're using while. You see, while times now will now be less than or equal to 5. Okay. Now print times for us. I'm going to use the result and explain what we would get. There's a column here. Print times for us. Now let's go back and run this. Now we are running on while loop. So you see, it will keep counting. It will just keep going till infinity. Like you can see that this thing is still running. It's still moving. It's still counting. It's still counting. It's still counting. That is the same way it will still count. It will be counting till infinity if we don't stop it. Now we can stop it from here and then close this. Yes, it will tell you terminate. Then you terminate. Okay. So it will just keep going. It will keep counting like that. But now we are saying at every stage now, sorry. We are saying at every stage now, the times now would be plus or equal to 1. Plus or equal to 1. Had it been that what is it called? My system is a screen touch, I would have, but I'll still try and explain this the way you understand it. Okay, now this is more like you have a price. What I want to explain is this plus or equal to 1 now. You have a price that you have, or you have a price list. Okay. And then you are saying that at every stage, at every point, now it is plus or equal to 1. Meaning the initial, let's go to our blackboard and see if we can write this. Okay. Now, let's go down. Okay. This is our blackboard. And you have something like price is equal to 32. Okay. Now, at 0 now, that is at the first count. At the first count, price would be what? Would be 0 plus 32, which is equals to 32. Okay. Now, at the second price now, you have a new price. At the second count now, you are now saying price is equals to 12. What will now be the value? Remember, we already have an original value as 32. And then now, at the next count, you are now seeing price as 12. So our while loop will now say, okay, the original price was 32. So the new total price will now be original price is equal to 32. New price would be equals to what? 32 plus 12, right? Which is now what? 44. I don't know if you understand this explanation I'm trying to give. So at every stage,
I don't understand. I understood what you did here when you said the first price equals to 32
okay,
at first count.
okay,
0 plus that I understood what you meant in this price equals to 12. Originally, I understood, but I don't know how we got here.
okay. Now let me use shopping mall to explain it. When you go to shopping malls to buy something, now when you pick, for example, you've picked noodles. Let's use Indomitables to 1 carton. You pick this in pieces. When you get to the counter where you are going to pay, if you have noticed, they will just use one of the Indomitable pieces that you've picked and then scan it. Immediately they scan it, it tells them the price per 1 Indomitable, right? They don't go ahead scanning the total 24 pieces. Sorry, excuse me. They just pick 1 Indomitable, scan for the price, and then multiply it by the total. So that is what we are trying to achieve here. Where we had, this is it, where we had this plus 1 times plus equal to 1. So at every stage now, when you came to pay, the system was reading 0. Okay, now because the system is reading 0, they have scanned the first thing and is reading 32 naira or $32 as the case may be. It means the total price is now 32, right? But now they have scanned another thing that the price is $12. So what will now be the new price? The new price will be the original price that was left there plus the new price is seen. So it will now be, the total price now will now be $44. Let's do another one. You have paid for the Indomitables. You have paid for what is it called? Milk that you bought. Now you want to pay for something like sweetener, sugar. Okay. Now your former price was how much? Was $44, right? But the system now is reading a new price again that is equals to 10. So the original price before it read 10 was what? 44. Right? So now the new price will be equal to 44 plus 10, which is equals to 54. I don't know if you get. I don't know if you understand me.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Okay. So that's fine. Now, let's go back. Let's run this and see our results. So now, when we didn't say at every stage, please help us and add one extra. Help us and add one extra at every stage. Now, what did it do? It kept on counting one. It will count one, like if you leave your local machine on and then your Python, it will count one like that as far as it is fully charged and it doesn't sleep. It will keep counting one till infinity. Okay, but you now said, okay, please, that loop, this is what you are going to do. Let the number of times be less than or equals to 5. And then at every loop, please help us do what? Add one extra. Now let's change this to 2 and run our. So what is it? What did it say? You have specified that the number of times it will count should be what? 5 times, right? And then you have said at every loop, add 2. At every loop, add 2. So immediately it counts the first one. It is 1, right? Now the next count to do is 1 plus 2. After that, the next count it will count will now be 1 plus 2, 3. 3 plus 2, 5. Immediately it gets to that limit you gave it, it will stop. Now, do you understand with this explanation? The first one, we are saying you want this thing to count 5 times. You want it to count 5 times. Understandable. But at every loop of the count, keep adding 1. At every loop at the count, keep adding 1. So it will count the first one. The original count is 0, but it will count the first one, it will add 1. It will count the second one, it will add 1. 2 now. It will count the next one, it will add 1. 3. It will count the next one, it will add 1. 4. It will count the next one, it will add 1. 5. Immediately it gets to that 5th count and the loop you have specified, it will stop. Now, let's do this as 10. the number of times it's going to count, let it be less or equal to 10. All right. And then we are saying at,
There is something, excuse,
okay,
there's something I didn't get clearly.
okay,
When we were adding 2
okay.
to the times. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I'm with you. Go ahead.
Hello?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello?
Okay, so now we've been able to explain this using this in parentheses bracket, trying to explain how while loop works. And we said we have 0 as the interval, which is the start, and we have 10 as the end. While we said at every loop, count 2 intervals for us. So now, because 0 is the start, the initial or the default reading is 0. Immediately, our while loop starts counting. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to count the first 2 loops, which is the interval, and record it as 1. It will count another 2 loops and record it. It will now be 1 plus what? 2. It will record it as 3. It will count another 2 loops, which is now 3 plus 2. It will record it as 5. It will count another 2 loops, which is now 5 plus 2. It will record it as 7. It will count another 2 loops, which is now 7 plus 2. It will record it at 9. And you said that the number of times or the loop at which it will end should be 10, or the number of times at which it should count is 10. So immediately it gets to the 10th reading, depending on the loop that you've used or that you've prescribed, it will stop. So for an interval of 2, the closest loop to 10 is 9. So immediately it gets to the 9th loop, it will stop. But in a situation where you are using interval of 1, it will count the first loop, it will count it as 1, and it will change the meter reading or the initial or the default or initial value to 1. The next loop again, it will count it as 1. So now it is now adding the previous reading to the current reading, which will now be 1 plus 1, 2, until it gets to the 10th reading. Now, in a situation where we use 5 here, you are saying the first loop, let it be 5. So immediately it counts the first interval, 5. It will change the default value from 0 to 5. It is going to count another loop, that is 5 intervals now, and then add it to what? To 5 to give you 10. But in this case, because at the end 10 is the value, so it's going to only count once. Now, this is what I mean. For the one that this is the first one, it counted it as 5. It counted it as 1. Now, the next one, it counted 5 plus 1, which is 6. So the loop now is just 2. It counted twice. And then the interval is just 1. It can't exceed, because 6 is the closest to 10, and it can't exceed this. But in a situation where we have, let's say we have 11 here instead of 10. So the first count is going to count it as 1. Then it will add another 5 to it, and it will count it as 6. Now, when it adds another 5 to it again, it will count it as what? It's supposed to count it as 11. But because 10 is the closest loop, it's going to stop, and it will not count 10. This is what I mean. Now, 11 counted 1. The next one, it counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, the second loop. The next one, it counted 6 plus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It counted 11 and then it stopped at 11. So now, in a situation where you have 10 instead, it will only return 2 loops for you, which is 6 and 1 instead of 10, because 6 is the closest loop to what? 10. And then if you add another 5 to 6, it will be 11 instead of 10. So that is why it will not count the 10th loop. That's the third loop again now for you to add. Immediately it adds that it exceeds the number of count. So I don't know if you understand how the loop works. It's the same thing with 4. It's the same thing with while loop, for loop is the same process. At every stage, you are counting and then you have your intervals, the intervals that have been specified. Okay? Now, let's quickly finish this. We said the first thing we did here was we said we want it to be less or equal to what? 5, right? And then after that, we said 1. So it was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for us. Now we've specified, okay, let it be 11. That is the end point. And let it be at intervals of 5. That is why we're able to get what? 1, 6, and 11. Now, how about in a situation where we want to change this times to counter? Because we specify that, okay, this is how many times this is going to count for us. What if we want to change the name from times to counter? How do we do that? There's what we call refactoring in while loop. Refactoring in while loop. How do we refactor? Now, you just need to change one of these. You just need to refactor one of these, not all of them. And automatically, it goes ahead wherever it sees times. And you have refactored it to counter. It changes them from times to counter. Okay? Now, there are 2 ways to do this. Whatever it is that you want to refactor, you can just maybe highlight it and then right-click on it, and you come to refactor. Refactor, you click on rename. That is the easiest shortcut to do it. Another way is highlighting, and then you click on the file menu, you come to refactor, and then you see refactor this or rename, as the case may be. So now let's refactor and then rename. What do you want to change it to? We want to change it to counter. Counter. Okay? And then we are good to go. You can see that it has changed everything. You only changed one from counter, from times to counter, and then it changed everything for you. So that is what refactoring in while loop that we just explained. And I explained that there are 2 ways to do it. It's either you highlight what you want, it is that you want to refactor. You can refactor anything in Python. It's the same, not just in while loop. But we just introduce refactoring in while loop. You right click, you go to refactor, then rename, or you highlight whatever it is that you want to refactor, then go to your file menu, then you see refactor. And then it affects everything at the same time. Okay? Now, how about we have our counter? We said counter now. Counter, sorry. counter is equal to 1, okay? And we said while counter is, we did less than or equal to 11. Let's do greater than or equal to 11 and see what our result will be. Greater or equal to 11, right? And then print counter, print counter, and we want to give it an interval of, let's say, 2. Counter is plus or equal to 2 for the intervals. Let's run this. Remember we said greater than or equal to 11. So the same thing that less than or equal to 11 did is the same thing greater than or equal to 11 would do. So immediately it counts the first one, counts the next one, it adds 5 to it, it counts the next one, it adds 11 to, and you would see your result there. Is that understood?